So I thought it would be a cool idea to take a look at the new Countach and compare it to the old one. So I have three different angles of the new Countach here. We have the side profile view, we have a shot of the front, and we have kind of the rear. And overlaid on top of that, I have images of the old Countach, and I'm going to kind of line them up, match them, and see just how well Lamborghini did at recreating this classic. So let's start off here with the side profile. Here is the original Countach. And as you can see right here, they kind of got that wedge shape right here pretty on point. Now, it's not 100%, but it does look pretty good. Another thing to note here is for sure the difference in the wheel well. Here, it is much wider and there's more space. If we look at the new Countach, it's a little bit tighter. As far as the front is concerned, we see this split right here. And we see the same on the classic Countach. Now right here on like the side skirt, you see we're missing that kind of accent that the original Countach has. These lines right here, these three lines. It's missing that. And instead we have this shape right here. However, if you look at the door, it does in fact have this, only much more prominent. As you can see here too, there is for sure a difference in the windows. Now I think this is a good looking window design, but if we're comparing these one to one, it's missing there. It's also missing this window right here. And if we bring that up to 100%, you'll see what I'm talking about right here. Now this ear intake right here, it is pretty prominent on the old Countach, right? It comes up, and it stands out quite a bit. Now it does try to imitate the ear intake up here, but it's much less prominent on the new Countach. Whereas if we look at the old Countach, there it is right there, and you can see it really stands out. And you'll be able to see it a lot more from the front view. And if we look at the new Countach compared to the old one, specifically when we overlay, you can see how the old Countach kind of slopes down towards the rear, and the new Countach kind of has that slope up, which is very, in the style of the Aventador. But those are my main call-outs just on the profile of this car. Obviously, you have things like a different shape to the door as well. Now let's go to the front of this car. Now we're gonna see a pretty big difference here. So let's overlay the old Countach on top of this, and there you go. Now as you can see here, here's the old Countach, here's the new Countach. Now, they put these headlights in a spot where they're kind of reminiscent of where the pop-up headlights are on the older Countach. Now, there's quite a lot of difference here on the front. So, let's take a look at the old Countach right here. There isn't a very prominent grille right here. However, this spot right here is kind of the same spot that Lamborghini decided they wanted a grille, and they gave it some Countach badging. Now, this right here is pretty reminiscent of this design on the Countach. That's good too, and again, all this right here was kind of removed and opened up again right here. Now, what's really noticeable from the front of this new Countach is the lack of presence of the ear intakes over here. Where if we were looking at a head-on shot of the older Countach, you'd be able to see those. they almost stick out like ears. And if we lower this, let's lower it a little more, kind of overlay it on top, it's just missing. You do not see that ear intake stick out at all. Now it creates a much slicker, cleaner look, but that does take away from the Countach of old, where that was a very prominent feature even from the front. But they did try to keep these lines too right here on the hood. As you can see right here, those same lines exist here. So they did take a decent bit from the Countach of old, but they did get rid of some design choices that some might argue are pretty representative of the Countach of old. Now here we have the back of the new Countach, and as you can see here too, these are very different from the taillight design of the Huracan and the Aventador. These taillights right here are taillights that we've seen before on the Lamborghini Sian. As you can see, the same exact design. Now let's take a look. We're going to see very distinct differences here on the Countach of old. As we can see though, before I jump into that, you can see the ear intake right here from the rear. And it is kind of prominent from this angle. But this rear right here, I would say is less Countach and more Aventador. I think this kind of has the look of an Aventador with Sian taillights. But let's take a look at the Countach of old. So here's the overlay, and right off the bat, of course, we're going to see a very big difference right here, specifically where the taillights are located. Right, and I mean, I get it, for a newer version, it makes sense. This is a little dated. So it makes sense that they would upgrade that. The ear intake from here is prominent from the side, which again, you can see that here as well. Now what we're missing though is this bumper right here coming off the wheel well, right there. And then right underneath it we have the quad exhaust. Now we do have that quad exhaust. There it is right there. But we're lacking that second piece right here. It's as if they skipped it and they just... And now it does look a lot cleaner right here. I don't mind that design. But it's as if they just took this part right here and ran with up here. And then put the exhaust right there. As you can see, the engine bay right here is, yeah, it's different. It's older. It might be a bit dated. But this just looks like an Aventador. Now, I think when you have these side by side, I'm not gonna lie, I do like the look of it. I think they did a decent job of capturing the old Countach, but incorporating more of a modern Lamborghini style to it. Because as we could see, it definitely has the elements of the Countach of old. And it has a lot of similar design choices, this being one of them, this ear intake right here being another. We have some style choices on the front like this, and over here being replicated. But yes, missing the prominence of the ear intakes from the front. In this right here, I think it's a pretty good angle for the car. I think it looks nice. Overall, I think Lamborghini did a decent job commemorating and remembering the Countach while bringing in more modern elements to the design and still doing a great job of representing the modern Lamborghini of today, combining elements of classic and new. Now, obviously, it's not going to be a one-to-one replica. It's not going to be a perfect reboot. And with that, you're going to have fans of the original that are not as into this new one because, yes, it does share a very similar visual aesthetic to an Aventador in certainly more ways than one. But I think the car is quite appealing. And if you share a difference of opinion, or you think the car looks great as well, leave it in the comments below. I can't wait to read your thoughts about the car. Thanks for watching.